This conference will now be recorded.
Students, I'm Dr. Divya from TeenEinstein. So in last class, we were discussing about population growth models in chapter number 13, organism and population. In last class, we discussed about how population density is increasing. The population density that will increase if the number of births plus the number of immigrants, B plus I, that is births and immigrants is more than the number of deaths plus number of immigrants. We know if death number is decreasing and birth number is increasing, definitely population density will increase. So birth plus immigrants, and that is more than the number of deaths plus immigrants. That means population density will increase. So from this, we can say that under normal condition, death and birth, they are the most important factors influencing the population density. Other two factors which we have told, like immigrants and immigrants, other two factors, they are important only under special conditions. So we may get the doubt that is there any predictable pattern for population growth with respect to time? So we know that in our country, how population is growing, we have an idea. It's increasing, day by day population is increasing. But in the case of animals, nature controls the growth, right? So from the nature, we can learn how nature is controlling population growth. So there are two growth models. One is exponential growth and the second one is logistic growth. Exponential growth and logistic growth. So among these two, first one we have already discussed. That means the exponential growth in last class we have already discussed. The exponential growth model. In that, what we said, when resources in the habitat, they are unlimited, means each species has the ability to realize fully its inner potential to grow in number. If unlimited factors or factors are available in an unlimited way, or there is no control in an unlimited way, when resources are available in the habitat, each species will grow in its full potential. It will grow and the number will increase. So according to exponential growth model, where population size is n, birth rate is b, and death rate is mentioned as d, then the increase or decrease in the population size n, during the time period t, that we have already discussed, right? In the first type, we have already discussed all these things. So in that time period t, how we can mention dn by dt is equal to b minus d into n. Okay, dn by dt is equal to b minus d into n. In this, b minus d, what is b minus d? Birth minus death, birth rate minus death rate, that is equal to r. Birth rate minus death rate equal to r. So how we can write after this? dn by dt is equal to r into n. This r is birth rate minus death rate. So in this equation, dn by dt is equal to r into n. Here r is the intrinsic rate of natural increase. R is the intrinsic rate of natural increase, because here we are calculating R. How we are calculating R? It is B minus D, birth rate minus death rate. So intrinsic rate of natural increase, that is called, that is mentioned by R. So this intrinsic rate of natural increase, that is very important parameter which is chosen for assessing impact of any biotic or abiotic factor on population growth. Okay, here R or the intrinsic rate of natural increase, that is very important parameter, and with the help of that we can assess the impact of any biotic or abiotic factor on population growth. Is there any abiotic or biotic factor which is influencing the population growth that we can make out from this R? That is, what do you mean by that? This is important for checking the influence of abiotic or biotic factors on population growth. Okay, so we can check the influence of biotic or abiotic factors on population growth. So according to this equation, which equation, dn by dt is equal to Rn. According to that equation, exponential or geometric pattern of population, exponential or geometric pattern of population that results in a J shape. Here this red line you can see J shaped curve. This curve, red color curve, J shaped curve. So when we are plotting n in relation to time, n in relation to time, this A, this graph A, that is a J shaped curve. Okay, when we are plotting the geometric pattern of population that forms a J shaped curve. Here we are plotting n, that is population density with respect to time. Okay, and second type of growth model, that is the first type of growth model. Now second type of growth model is logistic growth. This is the second type of growth model, logistic growth. So you know that for growth of population, we can't say that unlimited availability of resources every time. So nature is not permitting like that. And the exponential growth also. So this limited resources, these which we have explained, these limited resources that leads to competition between individuals. See, every time in unlimited level, resources won't be available, right? Even it is food or shelter, whatever it may be, it won't be available in an unlimited way. So for that limited resources, individuals, the individuals which are present in that population, that makes competition. So when this competition is taking place, in that only the fittest one that will survive, right? In this competition, you can see only the fittest one will survive. And if they are fittest, they can survive and they can reproduce. They can produce the next generation also. So you know that government have taken many steps to reduce human population, right? To reduce human population growth. So in nature, in the given habitat that has enough resource to support population of a maximum possible number. In the given habitat, in nature that has enough resource to support the population of a maximum possible number. Beyond that means it will be more. So nature is supporting a maximum possible number of population. But beyond that, further growth is not possible. So this limit of nature, that limit of nature, that is called as carrying capacity. See, just for an example, in one vessel, to fill water that is having a maximum capacity. Beyond that, it will go. It will overflow, right? Like that, for each one. In the case of population also, there is a limit for nature. Okay, for each type, there is a limit of nature that is called as carrying capacity. And that is denoted by the letter K, carrying capacity K. So the limit of nature is called as carrying capacity, which is denoted by the letter K of that species in the particular habitat. So in a particular habitat, each species is having its own carrying capacity. Then the sum of the environmental factors. The environmental factors which are all present, sum of that factors that limits the population size. That is called as environmental resistance. These are all 1 mark question. What is carrying capacity? That is the limit of nature for a particular species in a particular habitat. That is called as the maximum potential of the nature for a particular species. That is called as carrying capacity. And what is environmental resistance? The sum of the environmental factors that limits the population size. That is called as environmental resistance. So this environmental resistance that rises with the rise in population size. When the population size is rising, along with that, environmental resistance also increases. Then, next, influence of the environmental resistance. This environmental resistance influence over the biotic potential. That is denoted by this part of the equation. K minus N, K is the carrying capacity, K minus N divided by K. So the influence of environmental resistance over the biotic potential, that is denoted by K minus N divided by N. So let's see some important aspects of this logistic growth. First point is a population growing in a habitat. That habitat is having limited source. So that initially shows lag phase. Here you can see. Initially that shows a lag phase. Then next shows acceleration phase. Then it shows deceleration phase. That means reduction in the speed or rate. So first it is showing lag phase. Lag phase means it is getting adjusted to that. So slow and steady growth. Then it is showing acceleration phase, means increase in the growth. Then next is deceleration growth. Deceleration means reduction in the speed or reduction in the rate. And finally that shows asymptote. That means a straight line that is associated with a curve. Okay, this is a straight line which is associated with a curve. So we said a population that survive in a habitat with limited source, that shows first a lag phase. During the initial stage, it is showing a lag phase. Then it is showing a acceleration phase and then deceleration phase and asymptote. Okay, So that population survives in a habitat with limited sources shows a lag phase, and this lag phase it is showing during the initial stage. Okay, because during initial stage that organism need to get adjusted with that situation, and that time population is less than the carrying capacity. Okay, carrying capacity means what? The maximum limit a population in a habitat a population can be. So that is the maximum limit, carrying capacity. This is the maximum carrying capacity. More than that, it can't. That is called as carrying capacity. So when it is in a lag phase, when a population or in a habitat, when a population is in a lag phase, during that initial stage, that population is less than the carrying capacity. That won't be in the maximum level. That will be in the starting stage. So again, that number of organisms can be added to that. So that up to that level, up to that time, that might not have reached the carrying capacity. So this is followed by, this lag phase is followed by the phase of acceleration. Here, this lag phase, it is followed by acceleration phase, and then deceleration phase, because the resources are getting, when more and more, see, when an organism is getting adjusted to a habitat or in that population, that will utilize the resources, and after maturation it will reproduce. Then number of organisms will increase. When number of organisms are increasing, that time that will more number of organisms are there means they will utilize more the resources. So that slowly resources will get over. So that continuously that resources will get utilized. Finally, it is reaching asymptote. What is that? When the population density reaches carrying capacity. Okay. Finally, that reaches asymptote when the population density reaches carrying capacity. That here you can see this is the acceleration phase and this is the deceleration phase, and again it is going as a straight line. Why it is going as a straight line? Here almost all resources that have been utilized, and here maximum number of organisms in a population that also reached. Then it is going in a common rate. It won't increase or decrease. It will be going like that, right? Because continuously the resources are getting utilized and it is reaching the asymptote when the population density reaches carrying capacity. So in this case of asymptote, carrying capacity is equal to population density. Here the carrying capacity, it is becoming equal to the population density. That much only a population can include. The number of organism individuals in a population, that is becoming equal to the carrying capacity. Population density is becoming equal to carrying capacity in the case of asymptote. That means K is equal to N. K is the carrying capacity and N is the population density. Both are becoming equal in this state. So such a population growth that is represented by a sigmoid curve. Here you can see sigmoid curve. This is the sigmoid curve. This shape is called a sigmoid. And here in a plot of n in relation to time t, that results in a sigmoid curve. Then that type of population growth, that is called as world host curve-Logistic growth. Okay, this type of growth that is called as world host curve-Logistic growth. Here you can see N. N is the population density. This is the population density at time t. Here, population density versus time t. And R is the, here you can see R. R is the intrinsic rate of natural increase. And K is the carrying capacity. Okay, so like that we can plot a graph. World host per logistic growth that is described by dn by dt. Here you can see dn by dt means change in population density with respect to time. That is equal to R. What is R? R is the intrinsic rate of natural increase. That means birth rate minus death rate into N. Again, population density into K minus N divided by K. K minus N divided by K. So for most of the population, we can guess the resources for growth are limited or it is finite. And or we can say at least that sources may be becoming limited. Right? Every time more sources won't be available. It will become a limiting factor. So the logistic model is considered as the more realistic one. Here, the other model which we explained, that we cannot accept that much because whenever sources are available, that time only that will work out, right? But here the logistic model is considered a more realistic one. Okay. So in this one, exponential growth model and logistic model. In this one, logistic model is considered as the more realistic one, more acceptable one. Next is life history of variation. See, in whichever habitat they are living also, population evolved to maximum reproductive fitness. This is also called as Darwinian fitness. Okay. So whichever habit they are living, population evolved to maximum reproductive fitness. That is called as Darwinian fitness. So according to this, under a particular set of selection processes or selection pressures, that organism evolve the most effective reproductive strategy. Like some strategies we can discuss. Breeding habit. Some organism, they'll breed only once in their lifetime. You might have heard about bamboo that will flower only once. In lifetime, it will flower only once. After 40 years or something, it will flower only once in their lifetime. Then, Pacific salmon. But mammals and birds, they breed many times. Mammals and birds, they can breed many times. When their body conditions are suitable for that, they can do breeding. And number and size of offspring also matters. Okay, breeding habit. Some organism or some plants, they will breed only once. But mammals and all, birds, mammals and all, they can breed many times in their lifetime. Then number and size of offspring also matters. After breeding or this number and size of offsprings also matters. See, some organisms produce large number of offsprings. So many offsprings will get produced in a single breeding for some organism. But they will be having small size, right? But some organism, they will produce less number, but size will be very large. So according to ecologists, life history traits of organisms that have evolved in relation to these constraints, or it is depending upon the reproduction or life history traits that is depending upon the components of the habitat in which these organisms are living. So depending upon the habitat where the organisms are living, the abiotic and biotic components of that habitat in which they are living, depending upon that, the evolution that organisms have evolved, and their body features or their breeding habit, everything will be depending upon the habitat. Got it? Next is population interactions. Population interactions. What do you mean by population interactions? Interaction of different species. So you know that in natural habitat on earth, no habitat is inhabited by single species. There is no single species in any habitat. At least for feeding purpose that need other species, right? Even autotrophic plants, you know the features of plants. They can synthesize their own food. Even those autotrophic plants, they cannot survive alone. That is also depending upon the decomposition activities of soil microbes, right? Then only it can fulfill the inorganic nutrient requirements. So plants depend on animals for pollination also, right? So for feeding purpose, that might be depending upon the other species. So plant species which are making their own food, they also cannot survive alone. That need soil microbes to break down the organic matter in soil and return the inorganic nutrients for absorption. So from this and all, we can make out that the microbes, they do not and they cannot live in isolation, but all organisms have to interact with the biological community for their life. So even in minimal communities, many interactive linkages exist, although all may not be readily apparent. Okay, directly or indirectly, they will be having contact or they will be having connection with each other. They will be depending upon each other. So no organism is having the capacity to exist alone. Even autotrophic plants which are synthesizing their own food, they cannot survive alone. So think about the heterotrophic organism. Definitely they need the help of other organisms for their food. Next is population interactions. So in nature, animals and plants cannot occur separately, that we have learned. So to form a biological community that interact in different ways. Okay. So just now we said in nature, animals or plants, whatever maybe, they cannot survive separately. They need to depend, right? So to form a biological community that interact in different ways, these plants and animals, whatever maybe, all organisms are interacting with each other in different ways. So this type of interaction where population of two or more different species interacts. Okay, different species are interacting with each other. This is called as interspecific interaction. Two different species, they are interacting with each other. That is called as interspecific interaction. So there are three types of interspecific interaction. One is beneficial. Beneficial means that is the positive interaction, and detrimental. Detrimental is the negative interaction, and C, that is the neutral. It may not be harmful, neither harmful nor beneficial to any species. It's neither beneficial nor harmful. There is a zero effect. So beneficial means positive interaction, detrimental means negative interaction, neutral means neither harmful nor beneficial. Got it? Here, two species. Just for example, we are saying about different types of interactions. Here, species A and species B, both the species, they are getting benefited. Beneficial for both species A and B. That type of interaction is called as mutualism. So what is mutualism? Species A and species B, both are getting benefited. That is called as mutualism. Next, species A is not getting any benefit. Even species B is also not getting any benefit. That is called as competition. In first one, both are getting benefited. That is called as mutualism. Here, species A and B, both are not getting benefited. That is called as competition. And next, in predation, species A, one species is getting benefited, but the other one is not getting any benefit. That is called as predation. In predation, for NEET exam, you will get question. Here, in predation, parasitism and all, one species is getting benefited, other one is not getting any benefit. In predation and parasitism. Okay, in competition, both are not getting benefited, or both are having no benefit. Next, commensalism. In commensalism, species A is getting benefited, but species B, it is having neutral effect. One species is getting benefited, other one is having neutral effect. That is called commensalism. The last one, here, the fourth one, last one is species A is having detrimental effect or the negative effect, and species B, it is having neutral effect. That is called as amensalism. Amensalism, commensalism, parasitism, predation, competition, and mutualism. These are the different types of interactions. Okay. In which both species are getting benefited, that is called as mutualism. And in competition, both are getting detrimental effect. That means negative interaction. That is called as competition. In mutualism, both are getting benefited. And in competition, both are having detrimental effect. Okay. You just learn one by one. First one is mutualism. In mutualism, that gives benefit on both the interacting species. Mutualism means both the interacting species are getting benefited. Here, this is an obligate association of two organisms. Okay, in mutualism, that is obligate association of two organisms, and in this, two organisms, they will live together and they cannot live separately. Okay, some examples we can say, from that you can make out plant and fungal mutualism. In this lichens, in 11th standard you might have learned about lichens. Actually, lichen, what do you mean by lichen? It is a mutualistic relationship between fungus and the photosynthesizing green algae or cyanobacteria, blue-green algae. Algae, in this algae, which is called as phycobiont, that is producing the food through photosynthesis. But the fungi or the microbiont that absorbs nutrients from the soil, that this microbiome which is absorbing nutrients from the soil, and the algal part, the phycobiome that is producing food through photosynthesis, that is called as lichen. That is the intimate mutualistic relationship between fungus and the photosynthesizing algae or cyanobacteria. Next is mycorrhiza. So you will get questions lichen, mycorrhiza and their association. Mycorrhiza, and that is the example for mutualism. Okay, mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza, that is the mutualistic relationship between fungi and roots of higher plants. Fungi and roots of higher plants. Then fungi, what that will do, that will absorb essential nutrients from the soil, while that plant will provide energy yielding carbohydrates to that fungi. Fungi will absorb nutrients from the soil at the same time that plant, what that plant will do, plant will provide energy yielding carbohydrate to that fungi. Then plant and animal relationship. In that, we can say that plants need help from animals for what? For pollinating their flowers and dispersing their seeds. So animals are helping for pollination and dispersing their seeds. For this, we can say that so plants that need help of animals for pollinating their flowers, that is called as zoophily. With the help of animals pollinating their flowers, zoophily, and then dispersing their seeds. Animals dispersing their seeds, that is called as zoochory. So plants, they are getting reward in the form of pollen grains and nectar. For that pollinators, they are getting pollen grains and nectar and fruits, nutritious fruits and all they are getting, right? Actually for food they are approaching these plants, right? So plants, they are offering nectar, pollen, then juicy fruits and all. So such kind of nutrients these animals are getting when they are helping in the pollination or in the dispersal of seeds. So plant-animal interaction, that is involving co-evolution of mutualist. Co-evolution, both are getting evolved. Both characters or both relations are getting evolved. Right? So co-evolution means that is the evolutionary mechanism where the change of a biological object that is triggered by the change of the related object. So both are getting changed. Okay, there is a mutual understanding between these two. So the evolution of the flower and its pollinator species, they are tightly linked with each other. That evolution of the flower and the pollinator. Here, at the same time, the pollinator is also evolving. Evolution of both are taking place. Next is here fig and fig wasp. Here you can see fig and fig wasp. So there is a tight one-to-one relationship with the pollinated species of wasp and many species of fig trees. That means for each fig species, there occurs a partner wasp species. So without that wasp species, pollination cannot occur. Actually, what they are doing is a female wasp. That female wasp is using this fig fruit as an oviposition. That means for egg laying, this female wasp is using this fig fruit. So that is the egg laying site. And for nourishing this larvae, it is using that developing seeds also. So the wasp that is pollinating the fig inflorescence while it is searching for the egg laying position. Got it? So there is a tight relationship with the pollinated species of wasp and species of fig tree. Means each fig species, there it is having a partner wasp species. And without the help of that wasp species, this pollination cannot be occurred. Because that female wasp, what it will do, that female wasp is using this fig fruit as an egg laying position or egg laying site. And these seeds which are developing, that is used for the nourishment of this larvae. Then this wasp is pollinating the fig inflorescence. Okay, the wasp species that is pollinating the fig inflorescence when it is searching for the egg laying position or egg laying site. Got it? Here you can see mutual relationship between fig tree and wasp. This fig flower, it is pollinated by wasp and wasp is laying egg in the fig fruit. Okay. Then another example is there, orchid and bees. Okay. So to guarantee the pollination, while attracting all these insects, that in orchid you can see diversity of floral pattern, different types of orchids you might have seen. That is for attracting the insects or pollinators. See, like this fig. In orchid, that is not offering the reward for their insect pollinators. It is not giving something back to that insect pollinators. There, in fig, what they are getting place to lay their eggs, and from fig seeds, they are getting nourishment. Right? But here, in the case of orchids, they may not get the reward for the insect pollinators. See, like example, Mediterranean orchid. That is to get pollinated by a species of bee. See, one petal of that flower that bears uncanny resemblance to the female of the bee in size, color, and marking. It is almost resembling to that female of that bee in size, color, and marking. So the male bee perceives, or the male bee thinks it as a female, and that get dusted with the pollen from that flower during the process of pseudocopulation. Okay, so when same bee pseudocopulates with another flower, that transfers pollen from this to that, and that's how pollination occurs. Okay, in some special species of, in some special Mediterranean orchid, note down the example Mediterranean orchid, that is getting pollinated by a special species of bee. In that one petal of that flower, that is almost, it is having the appearance of the female of that bee in size, color, and marking. So that male bee, what it will think, that is thinking this petal as the female, and it is getting dusted the pollen from the flower during the process of pseudocopulation. When that same bee pseudocopulates with another flower, that is transferring the pollen to that another flower, and that's how pollination occurs. Got it? So these are the examples for mutualism. Then here we can understand that co-evolution process. Okay, co-evolution process, here you can understand both the species, both are getting benefited. So if female bee changes its color pattern, even it is slightly changing, the success of pollination will be reduced. Okay, that petal is exactly, that is similar to the female bee. So when it is getting the color change, even slight difference in color, that means the chance of pollination will be very less. That unless that orchid flower that also co-evolves, that means that is also changing its color or something like that. It is resembling this female bee, then only that is maintaining the resemblance of its petal to that female bee. Only that time that male bee will come and dust the pollen grains during pseudocopulation, right? Otherwise, the male bee can recognize that this is not the female bee. So, no need to go for the pseudocopulation. So, it will never dust the pollen grain. Got it? So, that is the mutualism. So, in mutualism, the interaction confers benefits on both the interacting species. Then, example we said lichen. Lichen represent an intimate mutualistic relationship between the fungus and the photosynthesizing algae or the cyanobacteria. Then mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza, that is association between fungi and the roots of higher plants. That fungi is helping the plant in absorbing the nutrients from the soil, and the plant, what the plant will do, the plant is providing the energy. Then for plant and animal relationship, in that mutualism, so plants need help of animals for what? For their pollination and their seed dispersal. So how animals are getting, or animals or plants are getting benefited? In plant and animal interaction, in flower you can see pollinator. So that shows some kind of mutualism. In fig tree, there is a tight one-to-one relationship with the pollinator species, and which is the pollinator species wasp. That means only by its partner a given fig species that can get pollinated. So the female wasp, which is used, that it is using that particular fig fruit for egg laying. That is the egg laying position. But the developing seeds or the pollen, that is used as the used for the nourishment of the larvae. So while searching for the suitable egg laying site, that is pollinating the fig inflorescence. So in turn, what it will take, that offers food for that developing larvae. It is getting food. Here you can see the fig fruit which is pollinated, a fig flower which is pollinated. That is the example for mutualism. Okay. So up to this, hope it's clear, mutualism. So next, different types we have to learn. That we'll learn in the next class. So these are the different types of interactions. Mutualism, protocooperation, commensalism, competition, predation, parasitism, amensalism. So these are the important interactions, population interactions. So go through all these portions. From ecology side, from this side, you will get many questions, nearly 12 marks question you will get for NEET exam. So go through all these portions. If you have any doubt, you can ask me in the next class. Hope up to this everything is clear. That's why this chapter we need to learn in simple language so that it will be easy to remember. The concept should be clear. Got it? Okay. We'll meet in the next class. Thank you.